I finally get to compete in a CNC Against Me challenge. Now, if you're not familiar with what this is, a few makers out there such as Hamilton Dilbeck, Hinkle Shop, everyone gets given the exact same brief. This defines things like your material, the bits you can use, the machine time. Now, what everybody does is goes away and makes a project around that brief in secret. We all launch the videos at the same time, and you, the viewers, then get to decide who is the winner. Now remember, this is about you, the viewers, voting for the winner. So even if you don't make it to the end of the video, at least follow the vote link and go and put your entry for whoever you think should be winning. Definitely me. I'll also put links to all of the other videos where I'm going to be the winner. So go and check those out, check all the other great projects out, definitely vote for me, and ultimately go and make your vote before the end of the video. Vote for me. Now, what I should also point out is the winner of the previous competition sets the brief for the next competition, and CNC with Me members can also follow along and compete against us as well. Now, Kevin, one of the members, won the last project and he has set the brief for this particular challenge. It is essentially a scrap wood challenge, and his definition of that is nothing bigger than 8 inches by 16 inches or 200 by 400, anything between 12mm and 18 or ½ inches and 3/4, no MDF, no plywood, and unlimited machine time. Now, in terms of the bits we can use, it is these three right here. The big bowl bit, the Downtown Jenny, and the Groovy Jenny from Cadence Manufacturing. The three bits that always make up CNC with Me projects. Now, if you're not familiar with CNC with Me, it is basically a forum where people can go and hang out, chat to each other, discuss ideas, all to help CNC people continue to develop, whether you're a beginner or more experienced. And there are also weekly projects released where you can download the files and follow along with them. So if you're interested in any of these bits or CNC with Me, there'll be some discount codes on screen and links in the description area, so go and check them out. Now, there is a couple of problems in there for me. Pretty much my entire scrap pile is MDF and plywood, so that kind of ruled that out. Now, I did have a look around the workshop, and I do have pieces of pine board like this. Now, obviously, this is a little bit bigger than a scrap piece of wood, so let's be adults and use our imagination. We're just going to take it that I'm using this middle piece of the board there. Now, initially I thought, let's keep it simple, something like an 8-inch round solitaire game board. But then Kevin mentioned he actually wanted it to be Christmas themed. Essentially, what can you make from your scrap wood to be able to sell on? And this started to get me thinking. Now, I don't know if you can see, behind the screen there is a ball bearing run or a marble run with lots of ball bearings about this big. Now, for some reason, a reel just popped into my head that I watched ages ago about a gravity-fed note holder. So that is what we're going to be trying to do on the board today. We're effectively going to divide this board into two halves. One's going to have a pocket cut into it for a load of ball bearings with a little slit. Stick them both together. You should then be able to put your Christmas cards up into the slot and they'll be held in by the ball bearings. Now, I should really point out, this is a completely winged project. I've never done this before. I don't even know if these ball bearings are heavy enough to do it. But let's jump over to the software and I can hopefully explain to you how I'm going to achieve this. So I was going to do a full-on tutorial for this, but truthfully there is nothing complicated here, and it is stuff that has all been covered in previous episodes. The two halves of the design are in front of us. The top half sits directly on top of the bottom half. Now, in terms of the top half, we have the text saying Happy Christmas and these stars. These are all just going to be V carvings done with the Groovy Jenny. Now, the other lines that you can see, we have the outer profiles for both bits on the top and the bottom. They will be cut all the way through with the Downtown Jenny. We then have two pockets down here. The first one will be 14mm deep and again cut with the Downtown Jenny, and this is to accommodate the ball bearings, which are 13mm deep. We then have the second pocket, which is only 1mm deep and again cut with the Downtown Jenny, and this will allow the cards to slide into the gap itself. Now, you can't quite see it, but there is also an extra line here, and this is just basically going to be done with the Groovy Jenny to put an angle on the edge of the wood, and this should help the gravity effect of the balls itself. If I switch over to the 3D view, we can see how this all comes out. As we say, we've got the V carving going on up here with the text and the stars, the various outline cuts and the pocket down here. And when I zoom in, You can see the difference in the height between the deeper pocket and the shallower pocket, which just gives that little bit of a lip, and also the angled edge that we've put on to help the gravity of the ball bearings, and that is ultimately where the cards slide in. We cut both pieces out, glue the top one on top of the bottom one with all of the ball bearings in this pocket, and that should allow the cards to be slid in and held in place. So again, let's use our imagination. Nothing below this blue line or above that blue line technically exists. Now, because this is a smaller piece of material, I'm doing this on the Saint Smart Genmitsu 4040 Pro Max, and we're using the blue tape and CA glue method to hold everything down. Now, this ultimately means that once we cut the pieces out, we don't have to worry about getting rid of any bridges because it's cut all the way through and still held down in place with the tape and glue. Now, we have the Groovy Jenny installed to do the V carving first for the lettering. Now, what you may be questioning is, what are these extra pieces of blue tape? Now, as I said earlier, I am literally making this up as I go along. I may want to colour those lettering in at the end, so ultimately this is just going to give me a little bit of protection around the lettering should I want to paint them. I don't have any of that fancy blue film stuff that people sometimes use, so this is my equivalent that may or may not work. So we've just got to get this set up, get it zeroed in, get the dust shoe installed, and then we're good to go and get the first part of this job done. So my idea of using the tape as protection if I wanted to paint the letters, well, safe to say that was a failure. Some areas are okay, like the big sweeping C, but then we've got other bits that have started to peel off in the tighter corners, so that probably was a waste of time. Now, if you're in any doubt that I wasn't winging it, that should completely give it away, and obviously do not do what I have just done and burn wood on your CNC machine. It really isn't wise. But what I'm going to do now is, because there is unlimited machining time, I'm going to run the bit over the same job again just to clean this up, and it should hopefully make it just a little bit crisper now I have burnt it. So I ended up lowering it by like 0.1 millimeters, and it really did do a nice job of cleaning up the letters after we had charred it. Now we've got the Downtown Jenny bit in, it's time to move on to the next stage, which is cutting the pockets out and ultimately doing the profile cuts around the edges of each piece. Hey Hamilton, how you doing? Yeah, I'm just in the middle of my project as well. You're going to vote for me? Mate, that's so nice. Thank you very much, that's really appreciated. Yeah, I'll let you carry on with your project now. I've got to get on with mine as well, so, but yeah, speak to you soon. So with all the cutting done, let's clear this off the bed and see if the theory actually works. So some of the wood still needs cleaning up and ultimately the entire thing finishing off. We put a few bearings in here, so let's put this together and do a test run. Now the theory is just pinching those together, obviously making sure that the bearings fall into the channel that we machined, and then placing this inside should grip itself. Perfect. So I quickly tested it and the theory works, but I wanted to show you with a piece of acrylic in place instead so you can actually understand. Obviously the angle that we cut into it make all the bearings lean forward into the piece of acrylic. Then when you take something like your piece of material and slot it into the gap, the weight of the bearings leaning forward hold it in place. Now, whilst the theory does work and it is holding everything where it should be, if I was to redo this again, I would make some minor modifications. Instead of cutting it with a 60-degree bit, I would probably cut it with a 90-degree bit to give it more of a slope for the bearings to lean on. I would also take the pocket much higher so that the material can slide into the gap deeper, and therefore I suppose it has a little bit more room to drop and allow the gravity to do its thing with the ball bearings. But job done. I suppose next stage now, get everything glued up and get the project finished off. Hey Vernon, how you doing? Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Lisa, doing well? Yeah, excellent. I was so disappointed you wasn't taking part in this competition. Ah, you're voting for me, mate, that's amazing. You haven't even seen the project yet. I love the support that I get from you all, it's amazing. Hamilton just called and said the same thing. But yeah, I better get on with the project anyway. I hope you all stay safe. Speak soon. And we have the finished piece. Now I've gone around and burnt all of the edges on this to keep it uniform. Obviously it wasn't the original idea to finish it off like this. I did want to try and introduce colour somehow to it, but ultimately, well, the plan didn't go to plan, as you saw from the video itself. Now one thing I have done is gone around the inside of the lettering with a white pencil crayon to help it all pop out, and you could also finish this with a clear coat of lacquer just to make sure it doesn't leave any marks or residue on things. But ultimately that is the finished product. Now do remember, you can in theory generalize this for any other type of project. You could just put a family name on there and this bit could become a note holder. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas project, but obviously that was the theme as part of of the CNC Against Me. Now, obviously, as the viewers, you get to vote who is the winner. Obviously me. Now, there will be links down to go and follow to vote and obviously see all of the other videos out there. But if you've enjoyed it, obviously, thumbs up, subscribe, go vote for me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much for watching. Final thanks as always goes to my patrons, and I'll see you all on the next episode.